he
Mayor.
can come in late too.
You're live.
Where is he right? Oh, he's talking to Rick. Isn't he? All right. Shall we go ahead and start without the mayor?
Yep.
All right. So I'll call the meeting to order. Are you doing the minutes, Kevin?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Did y'all get a chance to look over the compensation policy? And there are a few changes. The highlighted areas have been changed. And if I understand it correctly, it's to change the authority for Nixon something. I'm not sure I understood it. I was doing three things at once when he called me and told me. At the village and chief of police discretion, wage increases instead of just everything through the mayor, and he will take
With his approval.
with his approval, but he will take your advice and recommendations because he trusts you and your jobs.
I actually worded that different. Go ahead. You're fine.
Okay.
So in the past, the reason why I worded it different, which I'm sorry I didn't bring that copy with me, but I just put at the discretion of the administrator and or the chief of police, obviously over supervisor, and the reason why is council approves the salary range, and in the past, at the police department end, we were having mayor approval for raises, and then there, when I had first taken over as chief, right there at 19, I was having the mayor sign off on some raises, and he said, these were approved by council, you really don't need my signature. And I know in the past, there were some raises that didn't necessarily happen because we were waiting on mayor to sign off, or there was just some misunderstanding possibly, I don't know, but I was told by the mayor after I took the office was if it's approved and it doesn't go outside of it, you don't need my signature or anything. Obviously bring it to my attention, but it already has approval because that's your salary range and we entrust that to the supervisor to do that. So that's why I worded it different, but feel free to.
Okay, so did you read what is underlined in our thing, and that's?
Well, that's why the way the administrator worded it
Okay, that was
was
a
with
yes or no question.
I didn't hear what you said. And
The
did I read?
way it's worded here works with what you said?
No.
Or you want, okay.
No, I worded it different. I took out the approval by mayor. It was just at the direction of the administrator or police chief, as long as it was in the range approved by council and the mayor prior.
Adopted by village council for
Yes.
each employee under their direction to the mayor for approval.
So just take out for approval.
Yeah, I took out for approval, but again.
Now, what do you guys think?
Well, what really does under the direction to the mayor mean?
So
I mean, it can almost, to me, if that's what we're going with, I mean, it could almost be cut off
Yeah.
after village council.
That's what I did in the draft that I have. I just.
Okay.
So that last phrase, for each employee under their direction to the mayor for approval, can be eliminated?
What
Got that?
what Mr. Whitaker said right there, adopted by village
By
council.
village council?
Yep, I put a period there and I did take out that last sentence, and that was my correction.
Okay,
I just didn't get it finished because
Ben,
I ended
good
up
for
doing
you.
something else.
It's fine for me.
okay. Okay,
And
What
if
else?
anything, if you were to get to the top of those ranges, then you would have to come to the council for,
That's correct. We have no authority to go over the
Okay.
pay range. Yep.
right.
You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Makes our job easier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then on page 4, we also have to the mayor for approval. Do we need to change that to?
I would, if you're changing the one, yeah.
I think a decrease, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think a decrease in pay, maybe we have a outside, like maybe some more eyes on it to kind of understand what we're doing before we go cutting somebody's pay, just kind of like, but it's up to, I mean, that's up to you. Because usually when you decrease somebody's pay, which I've never done, is going to
Yeah, I was
come with a
gonna
little
say,
bit
how
of
many times
pushback.
does that even happen?
It hasn't, but it's in here, so I was trying to work with what it was saying.
So
I didn't-
keep
I
the
didn't-
mayor approval there in case.
I thought
we
mayor
would
and
have to
council
go
should
to
have to approve
him
that.
and state our case, why we want to
So he was.
decrease someone's pay, so I would keep that in.
because
he would-
chances are then it's coming to us and the mayor.
At-
So it's
Probably.
probably best to,
So we're
I would leave that as is.
Yep.
So we're judge and jury on that one.
The only living
On
example
the
I have of
decrease
that.
more than anything.
We
right?
had a paid part-time officer that was at the probationary period, and we were going to probationary release them. They were paid. We had said, hey, if you want to resign from that, come back as a non-paid auxiliary for a short amount of time, see if you can pick it up. We'll do that. And that was the one time and only time we had done something like at the police department end. So but that was, that's the only thing I have to give as an example. But that was obviously done through the mayor and everybody. Sorry.
Okay, the next one for the cost of living adjustment, 1 to 5% as agreed and adopted annually by village council.
That already happened.
That happens, yeah, it happens.
So that's just added to
That's
what we
just
already
added.
had? Okay.
Yeah, it was not in there, so I just.
So it's.
Yeah, we just
okay.
stuck it in there, yeah.
Okay. And then on page 5,
Yeah, this is where. Yeah, this is where. Yeah, this is where I stopped working, but I had a different mindset on it.
that doesn't look like anything that needs to be.
So I like using the term the annual employee review, since we were trying not to, well, I'm sorry, I don't have it laid out, so I'm not gonna get into it. That'd be a different angle, sorry.
Are you on page 5?
Yes,
Okay.
but I have
Old.
no,
I
I
think
have a
what
couple
was,
different.
what that was for was that paragraph included coming back to council for council's approval for raises,
For,
which council already sets the ranges, so it kind of covers it up in here that we have the authority to,
to go to the top of the
increase.
range, but
We
in
cannot
order
go out of
to-
the range,
in
basically.
order to increase the range, then you would obviously need to come back to council.
to increase the range.
Right.
Yes, that would have to come back to council,
Okay.
but before it was saying that any type of increase, we would recommend to the mayor, and then it would come back to you guys for approval, which you guys already did approve it by setting the range, so
Right.
we just took that portion out of that.
Okay.
Now, the only thing I can think of would be, maybe we would want to see, okay, if there's 10 employees over in, the front office, there's 6 or 8 policemen, and we've come up with, here's the amount that, we're saying they're going to be increased or decreased, whatever it may be. I kind of feel like, just with looking at the finances, I know we have approved ranges, this is where people should be paid according to a lot of different things. I kind of feel like if we see a total amount, if it's going to raise $10,000 this year, I almost think we need to look at the budget, make sure we're good, sign off, okay, move forward, to me.
Okay.
And that's in
And
there.
I think that's kind of what this
little-
is saying.
Yeah, I mean, according to, and we'll take in consideration the finances
and
and
budget of the village, right.
So that was actually the angle I was going. I don't like the dangling carrot. Like, for example, our top pay, we had fiscal officer and crunch numbers, and we can afford to pay everybody at that rate across the board for X amount of time. So my idea is, depending on where they enter at, usually after somebody gets off their 6-month probation, we give a wage increase, and then in 1 year get a wage increase. What I see is if we don't, I see people that aren't, if we can afford to pay that, then we should say, hey, this is the time, once you work here, you're going to be at the maximum salary range, right? And if we can't afford to pay more than that, then that's just where it's at. I get the COA increases their stuff, but I want, like, for example, I want my officers that top pay 2 years. There's no reason why at the top pay that we have for an officer, everybody shouldn't be topped out in 2 years, with the exception of an annual employee review. So at a 6-month, they get a probationary review. That's if they're not meeting standards, we boot them out, or we put them on what's called a PIP. So that would freeze any wage increases. We would word that right. And then at 1 year, when they got their annual review, if they didn't meet standards on anything, again, another personal improvement plan, some sort of improvement plan, where it's got, usually 3 to 6 months where they're revised. If they don't meet the standards and they don't get a wage increase, then when they meet the standard, they get the wage increase they're qualified for. And then after that, they go to, does it be 24 months, or if we even did 36, which is 3 years. I just feel like that's a little long. And then they're topped out. After that, their wage may increase by COA or something, but that's how we have to control those wages. Because if not, as the past it looks like, you have an unbalance. You have one section that they're at the 90th percentile of their pay scale, and you have another employee that where they're only setting at 60%. For example, when we talked about wages in 19, we had 3 that we had to raise it up to. I get it. I know that's why we're working on this, but I don't want to see that. Plus, and it's black and white, right? This is what you get, and then if you don't qualify, then there's a reason, and we've documented it. I'd like to see that. If 2 years is too short, then maybe we do 2.5, or I hate to see any longer than 3. But that makes sense?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was just getting at, and I guess, I mean, we could handle that when we set the
Ranges.
wage ranges each year. You know, we can get those okayed by the fiscal officer at that time, and, you know, she should be able to tell us, okay, if everyone was at the top, can we afford this moving forward? So, I think we can take care of that when we do our part.
Yeah, and we're constantly looking to improve anyway, obviously, and advance ourselves. We don't want to be stagnant, but in the same token, being stagnant is what sometimes has prevented us from maintaining people. So it pushes all of us to just keep improving and be able to maintain it, or it stops us from hiring new people. But my goal, obviously, is to increase the employee base across the board, not just PD, but the village-wide, right?
Right.
So.
And that's addressed every budgetary cycle, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we do that each year.
What's that? The
pay range.
Set the ranges.
Oh yeah, I like the biannual on that, but annual's okay. I just feel like seems like you're constantly working on it. You do it annually, but I like to biannually, especially if we're getting people raises and paying them, you know, in time. It gives us a little bit of time, not have to do so much paperwork. That's totally at the discretion of you guys. That's just my suggestion. I had the original draft from the Ohio plan where I just kind of went back to that original because I noticed some of the acronyms and wording were different. I was just kind of playing with the 3 of them, his revised version, the revised version, and the original draft, and just trying to blend it. Unfortunately, I didn't get that finished today because we've been working back and forth. He and I had put something together, and again, just fine tuning. So kind of glad we only got a little bit of time. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely have it finished in a
Okay.
week. Sorry.
Okay. So the compensation policy is something we're chew on for now?
Well, when we had the longevity raises, I thought my thoughts, and it looked like it was a unanimous thing. Again, I was trying to look, for example, COLA. If you say you maxed at 5%, and then say we gave a percentage for evaluation, which I don't think is the right way to go. That on the one, it had 3%, and then if you had a longevity anywhere, you've got an employee that may or may not be getting an 11% raise, and that's kind of like a bias and kind of supervisor bias thing a little bit. So to help take that out, I thought longevity we could reward at 5 years, every 5 years basically. We originally had talked about that large number there. I've since my thought was to decrease it only because I wanted to possibly bring on more employees. So I was thinking capping it at 5 period, but making it, at the 10 be 5 and then just kind of repeats it like 5K, but those are just numbers used. But again, talk about it later. But I thought rewarding employees at that was nice, and it was a good retention. It also helps save on an hourly rate. You're not paying time and a half, but you're still rewarding them some sort of monetarily.
I would agree with that. I think those are definitely high to me.
Yeah, I like 25, 2 or 2.5 at 5 years. At 10 years, I thought $5,000, but I didn't think we pushed past that, for example, because if we have 5 employees at that, and maybe you could even bring that down a little bit, but I think 5,000, if you do the math on that divided by 2080, which is the hours that you work at on a 40-hour work week, that's not too hateful. But in the same token, we wanted this to be for employees, period. We just had to figure out what was acceptable and how much they worked versus, for example, council folks, if you guys are employees, you guys get a $5,000 check every 5 years. Well, I would say no, but that's just me. But
That's never going to happen.
You got a
It's
guy
more
working
than
2 days a
our
month.
salary.
yeah, you got somebody working 2 days a month part-time. I don't necessarily know they should be getting a bump like that. But like, for example, our part-time officers have to work a minimum 24 hours a month. So I figure we find some sort of happy median to, hey, as long as you meet X amount of hours as a part-time, you qualify for this. As long as there's no been break in service, you still work here. Because we reward them, But again, we just have to iron that out a little bit.
Right. We can talk to the council about that.
Yep. I just didn't want to get a percentage on the longevity because I think that's a dangerous.
I mean, to me, I think the percentage is a better route to go based on your salary instead of a set lump sum. You know, I don't necessarily think that a part-time water clerk should get a $10,000 bonus at a certain amount of years.
I agree. That's why I shut the 10K out. I honestly didn't want to go above 5, but I thought that that shouldn't be really awarded until at least, 10 years. But again, if you control the salary ranges and we keep them reasonable, $5,000 is not a whole lot on a full, like I said, a full-time working schedule. But again, we could implement if you're here part-time, if you don't meet these hours, you get this. You can do whatever you want. I was thinking at a full-time employee level when I was coming up with the numbers. But we did meet with the mayor, and we all kind of thought maybe the 10K might be a little high. Sorry.
Okay. Enough for tonight?
Good with me.
Okay, so.
What would you like to see on the longevity? Maybe lower the numbers and then maybe find a max point and then just have that carry over like I was saying, or you like the percentage? I was trying to save on overtime and just things of that nature. That's why the one lump sum really helps. Plus, it's not an annual occurrence. You've got to,
Right.
kind of,
I don't know. I got to think about